Hey, good evening. We are here at the Lioness Den, and this is an unusual time for us. Usually we're here on Saturday mornings, but tonight we have a special Christmas edition of the Lioness Den. And tonight we're going to talk about mental health. This is a special time of year, but it can also be a stressful time. So we ask that you sit back, get your questions ready because we have professionals here who are willing to help, and let's go in. Hi guys, we are back at here at the Linus Den, and if you're watching, we want you to like and share this video with your friends and family. We're talking about stress during the holiday tonight, and a couple of other things. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce the panel for tonight, and we're going to get this thing on the road. Hi, Ebony and Adrian.
Hey.
Hi.
So tonight we have Ebony Vaughn. She is always here with us, and Adrian Holloman. We have been together all year, and it has been a great year. If you guys want to introduce yourself, please do. I know you do it every time, but for anybody who may be new watching, let's just tell them who you are. Ebony, you can start.
Hello, I'm Ebony Vaughn, a licensed therapist in the Baltimore, Maryland area.
And I am Adrienne Holloman. I am a life coach, author, and speaker, also in the Maryland area.
Hi. Oh, and I am Lydia Chapman for all of you who don't know, and I am not in the Maryland area. Used to be,
She used to be.
I used to be, but now I'm in the North Carolina area, and I am not a licensed coach or anything. I have most of the questions. They have most of the answers. That's how we usually work this situation. But tonight we're going to talk about, the holidays and how we feel during the holidays. If you have any questions or comments, please share them, and I'm sure we will discuss anything that you add to the conversation. But we're going to start off tonight talking about stress during the holiday. And the holidays can be very stressful as far as just not having what you need or just family oriented. There are a lot of stresses that happen during the holiday that will take you out of your comfort zone and may give you more anxiety. And so tonight we're going to talk about that. Anybody can jump in at any time. I'm not going to just say run the whole conversation or talk about everything myself. So, but yeah, we want to talk about stress during the holiday and how you feel. Um, I can tell you this year is much different for me than other years because usually I travel home for the holidays, but this year I'm staying here in North Carolina. And so there's a little anxiety, but that's how it happens. Ebony or Adrian, you can jump in at any point.
Yeah, I think that holidays can definitely be a stressful period for so many of us, whether it is us being separated from loved ones. Maybe there are some transitions in our lives. Maybe we are going through the first holiday without that special loved one, whether it is through loss of life or loss of relationship. Oftentimes, I think that we struggle with the stress of not having enough and wanting to do more in relationships. And so, especially now in this COVID time, another thing that is high is just being separated from people, not because of distance or lack of relationship, but just for safety reasons. And sometimes, that could definitely be a strain during the holidays, not being able to do either your religious practices or just your family rituals that you would normally do. So all of those things bring about a level of stress that we have to kind of, work through during this time.
Yeah, and I was going to say also with that, you have the fact that we've been in COVID and this pandemic for 2 years, that it's almost like compassion fatigue. It's like, how much longer? We thought last year was going to be the last year that we didn't see our family members and everybody for Christmas because of the pandemic. We figured for sure 2021 was going to be different. We got the vaccine, we've got the boosters, we're good. And here we are right back with rates now that are higher, even higher than when we started. And so it's like, how much longer? I could tolerate it for the first few months. I could tolerate it for the first year, but I'm going now into year 2. It's just too much. And so we're dealing with that on top of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You also have the schools that are thinking about going back virtual again. And so now, the isolation is becoming more real. That's what I want to say, because we thought last year we understood isolation and we finally made it through this isolation period and we were going to be free. And now we are looking at the possibility of being isolated all over again. And it brings the question, is this the new normal? And how do we deal with this isolation? Because after a while, you just get a little stir crazy. And
Right.
then, you think about it as far as social interaction, it gets less and less when you're isolated all the time in the house. Um, Ebony, do you have any tips on how to deal with just the isolation point alone is a lot?
Yeah, yeah. Well, the first thing that comes to mind is not to isolate, and being able to do the best or make the best out of what you have. If that means Zoom calls, if that means conference calls, if that means drive-bys, I think that we have to become more creative and intentional about not isolating. One of the things about when we isolate is whatever we are feeling or thinking, it gets worse, right? Or it gets more heavier. And so it's almost like you need time to share with others, even if it is to vent or to connect. And so, first and foremost, not to isolate, and then finding creative ways to connect is another thing. And then, one of the things that I have found that has been so helpful is just creating, getting in the space of finding something to do that you like to do, whether it's drawing, reading, writing, whatever that is, but just kind of finding things that bring meaning and enjoyment in your life.
Yeah.
That's good. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think we all have seen that this past year that, getting involved in other things has definitely kept us from feeling alone.
Mhm.
Because it's one thing to be isolated where you can't get out, and then that whole loneliness begins to set in. And so, like you said, for my family, we've done video calls in the morning. We tried video calls every morning. If it was nothing, just to say, hey, how you doing? What you
Mhm.
doing? How you feeling? Stuff like that. That did work for us. So yeah,
Mhm.
thank you, Ebony. Adrian, did you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I was just going to say kind of similarly, even if you can find a time, we had some friends of ours, we did the parking lot thing. So we all meet at a parking lot in our cars or at the back of our cars, and all cars are backed up, and you're communicating there. You're in the open space, you're able to do, more safely and all of that. So whatever creative ways you can not isolate, because again, our imagination is so much bigger than what the reality is. So if we're feeling alone and we're continuing to isolate, our imagination just takes it and magnifies it. And it just becomes, as Ebony said, it just becomes so weighty that then we really begin to have problems. So the other thing, like Ebony mentioned, is just finding out who you are. What is it that you enjoy? Start knitting again, whatever or start knitting or start drawing, or what kind of hobbies would be nice. What haven't you tried before? But begin to expand yourself, continue to grow even in the isolation, so that when you come out of this, you're going to be a wonder, right?
Yeah,
Because you've gained some resilience and you've gained some new skills that you'll be able to use on the big stage or in the big area.
absolutely. That's wonderful because this time of year tends to cause depression and suicide. You know, people just trying to deal with the holidays, deal with especially right now with the whole COVID thing going on, the lack of money due to the lack of jobs,
Hmm.
or lack of employment would be a better way to say that. And so, um, how do we deal with that part of it? Because that part is something that you don't usually get to see on the outside. You people look. I mean, I can look like I'm okay. I can look like I'm okay. I can walk around looking like I'm okay, but inside I could be dying because what I thought should happen for me didn't happen. How do you actually deal with that?
Yeah, I think that dealing with disappointment is always tough, but it's just a matter of getting through the feelings and being able to practice acceptance. I can't do this, or I was unable to do what I wanted to do, or be where I wanted to be. But again, like we said before, being able to make the best out of the situation that's in front of you. One thing that I'll always say is it is a mistake to avoid feeling anything, right? And
Hmm.
so even if you do feel those ways, it's important to identify
Process.
that and allow
Yeah.
yourself to feel it. But then you have to move past it. The power of gratitude is a powerful antidote for that. And then the other thing is when you think about depression, we always talk about how the root of depression is hopelessness. And so, in that state that you're in, what you should be thinking about and really be intentional about is finding hope. And, and
Yes.
and identifying hope in other things, in other people. And so, with depression, it tends to cause people to isolate. And so one way to fight that is to not isolate, like we talked about before. But then the other thing with experiencing depression during the holidays is it really takes you to that dark place. And so in order for you to come out of that dark place, you have to make intentional acts of simply coming out of there. I was talking
Right.
to a person, and it's just, even if it's okay, I really want to lay in the bed, but right now I'm gonna go in the kitchen, or I'm gonna
Hmm.
go in the family room with my kids, or I'm gonna go take a walk, or what of it ever that is. So you want to do opposite of what you're feeling,
Right.
even if you don't feel like doing it. Because one of the things that we always have to remind ourselves is our feelings are not permanent,
Hmm.
nor are they always reality based, right?
Right.
Because if
Right.
we are depressed, we're more inward. And so
Mhm.
if you are stuck inward, then nothing's
Changes.
coming in,
Hmm.
right? And so although you feel that way, that may not realistically be what's in your external environment. And
Right.
so a lot of times it has to do with us being intentional about doing the opposite of what we're feeling.
Right. And I was just thinking, my mom passed it's been about 6 years. And she didn't pass on the holiday, but that first Christmas after she passed, Christmas was always a big deal. So my greatest childhood memories were Christmases, right? She always made them fun. And so that first Christmas, I was in here like a blue funk. I'm like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do Christmas without her. And so it took me a minute to say, look, get up. I have fixed myself some hot chocolate, put a little candy cane in it, put on my YouTube station with the Christmas songs, and got the stuff out. And I made myself, right? I did not feel like it initially, but once I got it going and all the other stuff kicked in, I was able to get it together, right? And so I had to, as Ebony said, I had to make a choice that I wasn't going to stay there, that I was not going to not celebrate, because she would have wanted me to celebrate even.
Mhm.
Right. And I love Christmas. So I wanted to celebrate, but I just didn't feel like I had it at that moment. But I made the conscious decision. I was intentional and I did whatever I needed to do to bring myself out of that funk. I didn't say it's always easy, and it doesn't. It's also, you can bring yourself out today, and next month it'll be something else. And then you'll have to make that conscious decision at that point to make the change.
Yeah, that was, I was about to go there because Adrian, I've had the same experience of having your loved ones every year and then they're gone and you're supposed to keep going.
Right.
And sometimes honestly you don't feel like, my mom's not here, my dad's not here, all of my grandparents are gone, and me and my siblings are supposed to keep going. And it's keep going. Well, we want to keep going, but sometimes they get on my nerves, and I don't want to keep going with them. No, this is the honest truth. You like, they
That's
get
the
on my nerves.
reality.
I love my family, but sometimes they get on my nerves. And so how do I keep going, and how do we keep the cohesiveness in our relationships? Because we've been allowed sometimes, because sometimes parents allow you to act like children, even though you're grown. So you fuss and fight amongst yourselves. And now we got to say, hey, there's no big mama to say, come on, y'all, let's have dinner. You got to do it yourself. It's difficult, but it's part of maturity too, of saying, hey, now somebody got to pick it up and somebody got to run with it. And who's going to do it? And might as well be me.
Right.
Might as well be me, because it has to happen. So I definitely understand that loss of loved ones. Yeah, because like you said, it comes back. It doesn't go away.
Right.
Yeah. I was about to talk about something else, but I'm gonna hold on to that because it doesn't matter. Just a few days ago, I was able to watch a video of my grandparents, and surprisingly, because I haven't really cried a lot since they passed, as far as like that breakdown cry. And when I saw them, and my grandfather was on the video, my grandmother, and I was looking, and all of the people that I knew younger was there, I found myself in tears, very emotional. And it was like, what's wrong? You haven't been this emotional. You've been a trooper. But it's those things about the holidays and everything, and you think about old times. It brings you to that point. And so yes, loss of loved ones definitely around this time does something to you, basically. But yeah.
And then you have to discover new traditions, and that could be hard too, because you have to start something, because in your mind you're like, nobody does it like so and so, or so it's like, it's not the same, it's not the same, it's not, we just keep saying to ourselves it's not the same. And it's almost like you gotta, at some point you gotta say, you know what, it's not the same.
Yeah.
But but let's do something new, know.
Yeah. And I like what Ebony mentioned when she talked about the feeling of hopelessness that goes along with the I can't do this, and I don't have, and you're feeling powerless. Instead of now, sometimes you just got to change focus. What do I have? What's in my hand? What do I now have? I still have my siblings here with me. I still have my children. I still have my bestie, right? How do I celebrate them? How do I now make some new traditions with them? What are we going to do? Because we still here and we still got to live. How do I celebrate what I do have?
That's
Right.
good.
That was really, really good. Let's see. I have my list here. I'm about to go to my next question, guys. So, how do we deal with, and I think we talked about this during the women's mental health section that we had, but the parents who want, the guilt of parents who can't do everything they want to do, because that's a big one. Parents really, I wanted to provide a certain thing for my kids. I wanted to make sure that they had the best Christmas. Their dad's not there, so I want to compensate for what the father doesn't do. And if I can't, the guilt is worse than sometimes the depression or the next thing that you have, because they're guilty because I couldn't give what I wanted to give. I couldn't do what I wanted to do. But how do you handle the guilt part of it?
Some of it is called just release. Acknowledge this is where we are, right? This is what I have. This is what we can do. And this is what we're going to do. And not make the focus on what you don't have, because that's where you get into your guilt. I don't have, and I should have, and he should have, and they should have. Don't get into any of that. What is it that you have, right? And release it. Do not allow it to cripple you, because it will, right? And then you can't even appreciate what you have because you're suffering from the guilt of what you don't have and what you can't do. So sometimes it's just as simple as, how do I make this day special for them with what we have? Are we going to go drive by and see the lights? Are we going to make cookies? Are we going to do gingerbread houses? Are we going to have little contests? What are we going to do to celebrate? What can we do? How many things can I get from the dollar store and make a big gift? Right? How do I celebrate it? What do we do? And that's how you do it. And a lot of times our expectations are far greater than the children's expectations. They're really just happy. They have one thing that's like, yay, this was really good. This is fun. And they'll remember. They may never remember the toys and the gifts, but they'll remember the times and the experiences.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was thinking exactly what Adrienne just said, and one of the things is, it's like sometimes those things are really for us and not for our kids. And so, the older our kids get, we can have conversations with them like, listen, this is not a good year. What's that one thing? If I can do that, if I can't, having those conversations. But truth be told, if they between the ages of like 1 and 5, it's all about us anyway.
You can give them a box. They like boxes.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, what are we really talking about here? I mean, but if they're like, 10 and 12 and 30, I mean, of course it's something different, but I just think a lot of times we do things because of our experiences.
Right.
Like, I remember saying that, not necessarily for holidays, but I don't want my children to have what I have. I want them to have more. So I'm going all overboard because I'm thinking about what I didn't have. And so then it becomes about me and not necessarily about the kids. And so I think keeping ourselves on point with that, and then at an age where it makes sense, having that conversation with your kids. I could say for me, for my kids, I never had like these really big Christmases. I always said, like, you can get 2 things or something like that, because I would get them stuff during the year. So to have like this expectation to have all these gifts, I never really set a precedent for that. Right. And so for me, thinking about the disappointment part, I mean, of course, I would still experience, well, I really want to get them what they want, but I really don't have it. But then that's when I had conversations and I said, I can't do it right now. You know what I mean? And whether they were upset or disappointed, kids get over it. They get over it, especially when you have those kind of conversations with them.
Have to say thank you for that one, because that one was needed by me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there are times when we really, when Christmas comes, I have a great kid. Let me tell you, this year she said, just give me some money and don't buy me any gifts. And I was like, okay. But then I'm sitting here saying, she's going to need some gifts. She's saying that, but she's going to need something. She's going to want to open something. And she already told me what she wanted. So I still went out and got her some stuff anyway, and it's in me because I know the Christmases I grew up with, and how I felt and how I did want certain things and I didn't get them. So you have that thing in the back of your mind. I'm never going to do that to my kid, because that's. And so thank you, Ebony. Thank you, Adrienne, because it's like, I want to make sure that, my kid has what she wants, what she needs, and she's comfortable.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're comfortable, and like you said, it's just we're not comfortable
Yeah.
Right.
because of our
Right.
own experiences.
Yep. And that's the thing where we got to, is this about me or is this really about them?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. That's a good one.
I was going to say, and generally, when it's about us, that's when we beat ourselves up.
Yep.
mm,
And it
mm,
has nothing to do with them. They're like, huh?
Yep. It's so, and it's, and you know, we all guilty at some point because we
Yeah.
all look back at what we did or what we didn't have and what we want for them and all of these things. But you know, at the end of the day, we put more pressure on ourselves than it's
Right.
necessary. And I think that that's the other part of this, you know, these holidays, not putting so much pressure on yourself that you rob yourself of the
Right.
joy of the
Right.
actual
Of the holiday.
holiday.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like stay in the
Um.
moment,
Yeah.
right? Enjoy the moment of the holiday because it's a lot going on, right? Whether it's the lights or the music or the shows or Frosty the Snowman or How the Grinch Stole Christmas or Charlie Brown. I mean, it's just so much going on. There's so many fine times that you just enjoy the moment, embrace that.
Absolutely. Wow. Thanks, ladies. That it's still soaking in. Still soaking in. It really is. Let's see. Our next question is about the true meaning of Christmas because that's one of the things that get away from us during this season. Talking about the true meaning of Christmas in versus just the snowman, and because social media and television is going to show our kids so much snowmen and Santa Claus and all that stuff. And so I know we have faith-based homes, but just sharing because there's so many other things pulling our kids. Do you have any techniques for sharing the true meaning of Christmas during this season when there's so many other things to pull our children everywhere else?
Yeah. So, so I can go back to, you know, when my kids were young, as young as they had an understanding. I call myself being all deep, pulling out, let's have a Bible study on Christmas. Right. So trying to teach my kids what the real season of Christmas was about. And you know, they really did not have a full understanding of it. But I tried, right? But one of the things that I did start really doing with my kids is you know, being able to take things to a shelter on Christmas. And so we started doing that when they were, you know, probably in fourth grade or something like that, third, fourth, fifth, something. And we would do things like that. And I would talk to them about what the season is about and who it's about and the importance of giving and, you know, and things like that. And so I would say that is a way, you know, to really teach your kids, you know, what the meaning of Christmas is about and what, you know, what the foundation is. I mean, you know, by all means, do your little Bible studies or whatever, like I did, if that's what you choose to do. But sometimes it's a bit much for kids. You know,
Yeah.
you can do it in a more practical way where they still grasp it, where they don't feel like their mama done took them to church.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow.
And well, for my folks, our children grew up in the church, and
Yes.
so one of the things that was always good is they were always active, and they
Yes.
were a part of every one of the Christmas pageants. They were always a part of whether they were the Joseph or the angels, or they were dancing, or they were the choir, whatever it was. They always had the meaning because they were always connected to the enactment of
Yeah.
what it meant. So that was one of the things. But I always think about when I think about Christmas, I always think about the miracle of that birth
Yeah.
and how the season is a time of, to me, it's just special. It's a miracle season, and we celebrate the newness and the possibilities that are now resting even in this season. As we end one year and we're going into the next, the miracle of what we're now experiencing is now available to us. And that's what I love about the Christmas season.
Yeah, definitely. The newness, the opportunity for change is such a great thing, especially as you go from Christmas into New Year's. That 1 week when you think about how you can just set yourself up for what you expect to do in the next year, and then make a plan. That's one of the other things about Christmas going into New Year is that you want to make that plan. It's not just about the holiday and about the gifts, but making that plan for what is going to be next. What's next? What's next? And that's one of the major messages I hope to share with my child is always remember what's next, because we're always a lot of times we get caught up in what's going on right now, so much so that we are not looking ahead to what's next. And you get caught up in the gifts and everything. And if you go with the newness, and that Adrian was talking about what's next, what's new, what's next, what's coming next. Even if we're isolated next year, what's next? What are we gonna do next? That's gonna take us to the next level. So yeah, thanks, ladies. I appreciate it. We're about 30 minutes in, and I'm not gonna keep you guys long tonight. I do appreciate you coming.
Can I just do one quick thing to what you were saying? Even as you were talking about that planning for the next, just naturally, everything kind of shuts down from Christmas to New Year. So it gives you that opportunity to be strategic, to be intentional, and plan your next year. You now have the time because nothing else is going on. Right? So naturally, it's all setting the stage for your next, for your new.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. This was a fast half an hour, guys. I just want to tell you that. At one time, it always goes fast when we get on here. I'm gonna talk. We're gonna talk about one last thing, and I would like to ask you guys for steps for dealing with the stress. Like, what steps can we take for dealing with the stress? Like, I'll say my steps for dealing with the stress is finding a quiet place, playing some Christmas music right now, and kind of clearing my head. But what steps do you guys suggest for dealing with the stress?
I think everything that you just said, but I also think, really identifying, first of all, what is it that you're stressed about? Like, what's triggering it? Where is it coming from? Allowing yourself to feel what you feel. But I think the most important thing is really looking to get through it, so not just sitting in it, but really dealing with whatever it is that you're stressed about, and kind of working yourself through it. What is it going to take you to get from that stress to the next place? And that could be different for everybody. But that awareness and identification and, being able to practice the acceptance piece, and then choosing to move forward and surround yourself with things that will challenge that state, is good, because we got to find something that's going to challenge where we are right now. If I want to isolate, if I don't isolate, that is challenging what I really want to do. So we have to surround ourselves with things that will help us to get out of the place that we're in, because when we sit in it, when we wallow in it, when we become a victim of it, then we are not empowered to get out of it. And so, step by step, I think that those are things that we have to do. We got to want to get past stress. And that may sound harsh for some people, but sometimes I think that we are so accustomed to it, we just sit in it and don't allow ourselves to be empowered through it.
So you're saying don't send out invitations to my pity party
Absolutely. Absolutely.
so I can tear up the invites?
Yes. Tear it up.
I'm choosing not to throw my annual pity party.
Yes.
That's what you're saying.
Yes. That's what I'm saying. And stop being used to it.
Stop being you. Do not get comfortable in that state.
Yes.
Do not be comfortable there.
Yes.
As we say, choose to make a difference. Choose to be different. Choose not to be stuck, because it will come, right?
Mhm.
Things will always come. Those familiar feelings will come back. But you have to choose, like, okay, you coming, but my mind today is not, I ain't for it. I ain't having none of that. We not doing this today. Right? This season's going to be a different season for me. So it becomes a changed mind. And when you change your mind, then you'll begin to change your actions. And then your circumstance and situation will change.
Wow, ladies. Thank you so much for tonight. I know you guys have, this is different for us. We're usually here on Saturday morning, so this is different for us. Before we close, if you guys could give a few last words and tell people about what you're doing and how they can get in contact with you. I'll start with Adrienne.
So my words would be to, again, enjoy your season, embrace it, enjoy every moment, find a way to celebrate, find a way to enjoy it, to let the stress go, let the guilt go. Don't allow that stuff to settle, but choose to enjoy your season. And you can find me, if you want to hear more from me, you can find me on Facebook under Discovering Your Treasures, or on Instagram, DT Dream Coach. Look out for my vision board, Clarity is Everything, where we start the year with the vision board training. That's going to be the second week of January. So reach out to me, find me on those channels, and I look forward to connecting with all of you. Happy holidays.
And Ebony?
Yes, and I will say choose to have an amazing holiday despite whatever that means. Choose to make this a great holiday. And even for those of us who may have experienced the loss of a loved one or the loss of a relationship, savor those memories. It's never easy, but trust God, pray, and just see yourself as moving through, see yourself as overcoming. I am Ebony Vaughn again. My website is triplgliving.com. I can be found on Facebook, Ebony Vaughn, and I can also be found on Instagram at 3G_20.
Guys, this has been another episode of the Lioness Den. We thank you so much for coming. We will start off bright and early in the new year with something new, something fresh. We're taking our new time from Christmas to New Year's to come up with our new thing. And so join us next year. We will come back with more things. Look out for us. Next year we will have some exciting things to announce. That's how I want to say it. We have some exciting things to announce. We don't want to forget, buy Ebony's books, buy Adrienne's books. They both have books. Ebony has 3 books now. What are your books, Ebony? I don't want to mess it up.
Pursuing the Heart and Mind of God Through Prayer, Fight, and Gifts.
Ebony has those 3. And Adrienne, your book?
I Am Because I Say I Am, Transformed by the Power of Affirmation. And there's an accompanying 2022 planner that goes with it.
Great. So guys, please, I think you can get them everywhere. Am I right? If I remember correctly,
Yep.
Get them everywhere. Just look them up. If you like me, go on Amazon. Google it. Google it. Google works. It tells you everything. Google it and you'll find it. But thank you again for joining us. And we want you guys to have a wonderful, wonderful Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Be blessed.
Yes.
Merry Christmas. Be blessed. Be blessed. Be blessed. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.